morning, good morning. Peace and blessings. It's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless, and I'm back with another video. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Hope everybody enjoying their Friday. I just wanted to come with a quick message and some updates on the Nolan Wells case. We all are aware, unless you've been sleeping under a rock, of what's been going on with Nolan Wells' case, so we don't have to go over that. But I do have to say that, unfortunately, this case has become, and as the title says, Nolan Wells' case is a circus with allegations, lawsuits, and drama. So I seen the family was with Ben Crump, and they did a press conference yesterday. Now, I knew from day one when I saw Ben Crump and Al Sharpton and Colin Kaepernick and all these different figures, Tyler Perry, start to jump on this case. Of eventually, it was going to become a circus, because if you know the history of uh, Crump, you know that he is more or less of an ambulance chaser. Every time you see him, he's jumping on the next situation that involves someone black and someone white, or someone lost their life. And for the family to want answers to what happened to their son, you hire a civil attorney instead of an investigator. That was a red flag, right? But I try my best to withhold judgment on the family, because I know that they are grieving, and nobody can feel the pain that they are feeling as parents. But you know what came out in these interviews, that officers, and I'm so glad that Officer Tatum took the initiative, regardless of how you feel about him. He took the initiative to touch the soil and talk to the people, the young boys that was his friends that were being accused. And he's taken a lot of hits because of that as well. You got a lot of black people, he's always been referred to as a coon, or, a sellout to the black culture, or what have you. But to me, he seems to be the only person that wanted to get both sides of the story, and actually trying to find out what happened to Nolan outside of racism and all these other elements that did not have anything to do with these boys and this boat trip, which we found out it was more than just him and three boys. It was 30 plus kids or young adults that went on this trip to Horn Island in Mississippi. We found out, for me, the most important things is that his friends left the island at least a couple hours before Nolan was last sighted on the island, after he chose to stay behind. You know, and once again, this opens up a broader conversation for, drinking and young adults, and what happens when you combine, dangerous environments like the ocean and excessive drinking. And allegedly now we have allegations of cocaine use, you know. Um, and I just think about what's going on with fentanyl. And this is just me allegedly saying. I mean, it could have been a situation where he got a hold of, if he allegedly did indulge in cocaine, he could have got a hold of something that had fentanyl in it. We don't know. The investigation is ensuing. But I thought that it was quite revealing that the boys had evidence showing that they reached out to the parents. Not only the boys' parents, several of them reached out to the parents. I know if it was my child, I would want to talk to the boys, to their parents, and everybody that was last around my son before his untimely demise. I would want those questions, but I would want those questions answers, but I wouldn't go hire Ben Crump. See, Ben Crump, only thing he gonna do is try to get some money out this situation. That's what he do. He's not a private investigator. If you're trying to get to the bottom of it, you need a private investigator. And through it all, uh, we got the parent side, but we did not get these boys side into Officer Tatum. So we got to give him his props for that, through all the hits that he's taken. And he also said in his last video pertaining to this situation that he believes that somebody either is involved or knows what happened, but it's not the boys that we were assuming that are being dragged. Now they got this new boy that is surfaced named Bart. And see everybody running around talk about Bart had something to do with Nolan's death. Well, that couldn't be farther from the truth when it boils down to the fact that Bart has came out. They said he was dating the girl Katie. Bart was being thrown under the bus when in all actuality, he was just there at the time that the boat was sinking when the boys called in and tried to help them help their boat get from out of the water. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have nothing to do with anything as well. See, this is why you got to be very careful on where you get your information from. You know, you got to be very careful of who you accuse on public platforms. You know, because see, now Bart came out with an attorney saying that he's going to be suing multiple social media commentators that have been defaming his name and implicating him in a murder that he don't have nothing to do with. That's why it's very imperative to do your due diligence and just wait till all the facts are coming out. This situation is still fresh. This just happened on the 4th of July. We only on this July 31st. You know, it hasn't even been a full month yet. The second autopsy came back before the first autopsy, which I thought was a miscalculation because nothing was determined to be a cause of death. You know, we still waiting on these autopsies can take anywhere from several weeks to months. You know, and it seems that the state of Mississippi is doing a very extensive autopsy to find out what happened. And then we also waiting on the police investigation. So all of this stuff is underway. But when you add in elements like racism and slander and defamation, now this boy is going to be out here suing people on social media that have been implicating him. And I didn't want to speak on the Bart situation because I've really been listening to a very select few as people that as it pertains to this case. And Officer Tatum is one of them because he actually went to Mississippi, went to Horn Island, talked to the boys, saw their evidence. He has a background as a police officer, a former police officer, so he's familiar with how investigations go, right? So now you got Bart coming out saying he's going to be suing people. You know, his attorney made a statement saying that, you know, if you, we don't care if you don't have no money, we're going to sue you for every dollar you got or that you got or you think that's coming to you. So even if you a small platform, you got to be careful, man. Because see, what's happening is people are putting out here this racial narrative. People are saying this boy is implicated and these other boys are implicated in the unaliving. And then what do? They start getting death threats. People don't want to hire him at jobs. This boy supposed to be a football player trying to go to the NFL. They tampering with his career. These are very serious allegations that you are putting on these young men with no proof, no evidence. That's defamation. And as small as my platform is, I even understand that. You know, I understand that you can't come out here and just accuse people and slander people. So now, apparently, whoever's been, I'm alleging that the most popular commentators are going to get hit with a lawsuit. Well, maybe this will open up other people's eyes to kind of like ease up off of this. This is a serious situation. Even with the boy that Officer Tatum first interview was Warren. Warren's father came out and made a statement and said that he is putting up $50,000 for any information to Nolan Wells' death. So remember, Al Sharpton came out and put up 50,000. Now Warren's father coming out putting up 50,000. Say I'll match that. Now you have to ask yourself, what father will put up $50,000 if his son is implicated in a crime, such as a murder? That speaks volumes. And they also lowering up, right? So this is turning into a circus because now the family has sent out a notification to all the, like several, not all of them, but several of their son's friends, that they are going to be filing lawsuits. So no criminal charges have been filed, but all these notifications of lawsuits. So this is turned into a money situation. Now, like I said, you got the kids coming out, lawyering up. You got the family of Nolan Wells, the parents. They about to slap lawsuits down. See, that's what Ben Crump do. I called it from day one. All he trying to do is get some money out this situation. You don't think Ben Crump looking like, see, these families in this particular community, you could tell Ben Crump did his research. He see these people got money. If they kids got access to boats, then 9 times out of 10, they got access to homes. You know, they got several cars, they got businesses. They family putting up $50K in ransom money. Ben Crump know he dealing with a community of people that got a lot of money. And what if I slap down a lawsuit? Hey, let's throw some on the wall and see what sticks, and maybe somebody will pay it allegedly to make this whole thing go away. Now you got that going on with the social media, people on social media coming up with their own narratives, painting this about racism. You got a community divided, people not trusting one another. You know, you got police investigations going on, you know, and like I said, Officer Tatum, all he did was go down there and get them boys a voice, and he's under fire. Now you got him going back and forth with D.L. Hughley, the comedian D.L. Hughley. Now, for whatever reason, D.L. Hughley came out here first and attacked Officer Tatum, right? Talked about post pictures, him and his wife, or whatever he had to say, or you a coon, and you know he working with the Democratic Party. So I don't know if he did this on his own or if he was sanctioned to come after Officer Tatum. Because Officer Tatum politically is a conservative. We all know how they go. They trying to make this situation about race. So who better to send out there somebody like D.L. Hughley, right? Now, Officer Tatum responds, and his response is talking about D.L. Hughley's, you know, situation with his daughter being allegedly, you know, violated by somebody and him losing. I mean, all of this is messy. None of this has nothing to do with Nolan Wells. I'm not going to dive too much until Officer Tatum and D.L. Hughley got going on, because it ain't about them. It ain't about the friends. It ain't about the lawsuits. It ain't about none of that. It's about Nolan Wells and what happened to Nolan. It's about none of these people. It ain't about Officer Tatum. It ain't about D.L. Hughley. It ain't about the parents. It ain't about Warren. It ain't about Tristan. It ain't about Bart. until we get to the bottom of what happened to this young man, Nolan Wells, it ain't about none of y'all. Now, I understand that when you come for somebody, D.L. Hughley, you can't control how they respond. So although I would, if Officer Tatum by chance happens to hear this message, stay focused, bro. You doing a great deed in getting both sides of the story. Don't let the likes of D.L. Hughley or anybody else, and I know you've been under a lot of attacks, and you wanna, and it's just common nature, especially being a man, to want to defend yourself. But do not get sidetracked by these distractions like D.L. Hughley, bro. Stay focused on what you're doing. Because I have to say, from my vantage point, you are doing God's work, bro. By giving these boys and giving the world a different perspective of what actually happened and clearing people's name who clearly didn't have nothing to do with any foul play. Now, we do agree that somebody knows something, but we don't want to waste too much time going back and forth, tit for tat, in this messiness. You know what I'm saying? This has become a circus at this point, and it's unfortunate that everybody is monetizing their platforms off of Nolan Wells' death. These people don't really care. They come up, make up lies, and further divide this country with racial tensions when this had nothing to do with that. Everybody that left, all them young adults that left out for that boat ride to Horn Island, you had whites, you had blacks, you had Mexicans, you had Latinos, you had a couple Asian people I'm hearing. You had mixed races. These kids, they don't operate like that. Bringing up Emmett Till is a slap in the face to Emmett Till. Bringing up Medgar Evers, this don't have anything to do with that. You got to know how to compartmentalize different situations from other situations. This is 2026, bro. This ain't 1946. So we have to deal in reality. This situation had nothing to do with race. And like I said in the previous videos, what you do when you do that is you isolate certain people in the community that they don't want to talk. They don't want to be a part of it. When they probably had some answers that could lead to what actually happened to Nolan, right? But unfortunately, this has become a circus with lawsuits instead of criminal charges. Think about that. What does a lawsuit help Nolan Wells' case? Nothing. It's about money. All this internet beefing back and forth and talking about each other personal situations, personal lives and their wives and who cheating on who. Come on, bro. Officer Tatum, get back focused, man. Stop going back and forth with D.L. Hughley. D.L. Hughley, I know you got a job to do, but this is about a young man's life, man, that was lost, and we still trying to get answers. Be careful if you have a platform to not be out here falsely accusing anybody, or you could be hit with a lawsuit because they not discriminating on big or small platforms. All right, so be responsible with your commentary. Rest in peace to Nolan Wells. Our condolences to the family on behalf of Voices for the Voiceless. We're going to stay updated with this situation. Peace and blessings. God bless all. Have a great weekend. We should see you soon. Peace and blessings.